So I always knew I wanted to go to a city university, and I wanted to move quite far away from home. So I originally live in Reading, and my dad's Scottish, so I knew he was quite keen for me to move back up to Scotland. But I just really liked the idea of doing a 4-year degree. I found the 3-year degree that a typical English uni would offer quite limiting, and I like the idea of doing the first 2 years and picking outside modules and then moving on to my honours years for 3rd and 4th year. I also really like the idea of studying in Scotland, in Edinburgh. I think it's a really happening city with a buzzing nightlife and, you know, lots going on culturally, historically, so I was really excited to study in Edinburgh.
I chose Edinburgh as an option to apply to for a couple of reasons. First, it's a city that was close to me, I knew it, but it's a city far away enough that I could move out. Second, the city's beautiful. It's a really amazing city and it mixes the old and the new and green spaces and built up areas. And third, they had a really strong widening participation programme that supported me through my application. So that was already an established relationship I had with Edinburgh, and I felt supported and valued by them.
As someone who comes from South London, I found that Edinburgh is quite different to London. For starters, Edinburgh is a lot smaller than London. I found that this was quite pleasant as I was able to walk around the city. As well as this, Edinburgh has a nice contrast between the old town and the new town, as well as the city and the more natural parts of it, like Arthur's Seat.
So my hometown is Torquay, which is a small seaside town in southwest England and Devon. So going to Edinburgh, it did feel bigger. It has the kind of buzz of a capital city, but it doesn't feel too big. Like, you can walk it and get to know different areas of it. Like Morningside has loads of really nice like boutiques and shops, and that feels quite different to Princes Street with some of the more like commercial shops like H&M and stuff like that. And the whole city in general has quite a charm and historic elegance about it. The Royal Mile is so like historic and beautiful. There's so many festivals going on throughout the year, things to get involved with. And you also have the National Library of Scotland and the national like theatres and stuff. So you've definitely got like the resources that you need to be at uni and keep yourself interested. And it also has loads of green spaces. So you've got the Meadows, which is like a big expansive park that I walk through to get to uni, which has blossom in the spring. So it has a real mix of everything, and it's just really beautiful.
Of the 3 offers I received, 2 were campus universities in more of a countryside setting, and then the University of Edinburgh, which is obviously in the middle of Scotland's capital city. Having grown up in London, I'm very used to that city environment, and so Edinburgh seemed like the right place for me to get used to living in a city on my own.
I adored the idea of a 4-year program because I felt like it would actually give me time to get accustomed to a new city and build a life here that was not very, just ephemeral. It was more permanent. And also, I love the idea of electives. I could not imagine just only taking history modules for the entire time. I would go crazy. So I was really attracted to the whole concept of having 2 years to choose your electives and then going into honours for 3rd and 4th year and being much more like narrow in your focus. And yeah, I spoke to loads of alumni that had graduated from Edinburgh and tried to understand how life felt like, and I chose Edinburgh.
So I'm always surprised how much green space there actually is in Edinburgh, considering it is quite a compact city. We've got Arthur's Seat, which is a dormant volcano which you can go on a hill climb on, and at the bottom of that is Holyrood Park, and there's also the Meadows, which is right by uni as well. So these are huge green spaces where students just like to hang out, sit down. In the winter, when it gets snowy, they turn into huge snowball fight playing fields, and in the summer people have student barbecues on them. So it's really nice to see that kind of really busy street city centre and also the green spaces outside of it. But it's not just green, we've got things like Portobello Beach as well, where you can go for walks with your friends. So yes, it's crowded in the sense that there's lots of people about and it always feels very happening, but there's definitely some quiet spots in the city as well, you just have to look for them.
I'd say that Edinburgh as a population is quite small, so most of the time you're at uni it doesn't feel very crowded. And also in the festivals and the fringe and stuff, it can get quite busy, especially around Christmas as well. In terms of green space, there are so many green spaces. I love things like the Pentlands and the Highlands, and Blackford Hill is nearby. I also get to walk through uni through the meadows, and I'm part of the Hill Walking Club. And that's one of my favourite things about Edinburgh is the mountain green spaces.
Coming from South London, I found that there are fewer people and more green space. There's the Meadows, which is right next to the university, as well as the Crags, which border the city, and Arthur's Seat. If you want more natural spaces, they're not necessarily green, but a bit further there's also the beaches like Cramond and Portobello.
So Edinburgh's a really cosmopolitan place, especially at the University of Edinburgh. We have people from a huge variety of different backgrounds, cultures, countries, who come to Edinburgh at different ages. So I found it really accepting, and because it's so big, there's usually different groups there available depending on what your interests are. So not everyone will do the same thing. I liked going out in Freshers Week, some people won't like going out in Freshers Week. I joined the debates union, some other people will join NITSOC. So it's all about finding where you feel comfortable, and there'll be other people who share those interests, which really helps.
Everyone at Edinburgh goes out of their way to be welcoming, especially early on in the academic year. One thing that is really important to remember is that everyone who arrives new in September is also worried about finding friends and fitting in, and so it's important to make the most of the opportunities put on by the university and the Students' Association to meet new people. I'd also really recommend getting involved with any societies that take your interest, because they're a great way to meet people with similar interests from across the academic years.
For me, I found that Edinburgh as a city is quite small and therefore walkable, and I found nowhere was more than a 20-minute walk. If ever I had to go a bit further and out of the city, there are good bus and tram links, and you can always get a bike.
So I'm a third year student now, and I currently live in Marchmont. It's an area just off the Meadows, and it's about a 10-minute walk to uni, which is so convenient, so I never really have to take any sort of transport because my campus is right next to my accommodation basically. So it's just a short walk across the Meadows, which is really nice. And in my first year I lived in Pollock Halls, and it was about a 20-minute walk, I think. I think my record was actually 13 minutes, but that's because I was running late one morning and I managed to power walk it. But no, I've never really had to use public transport. Everywhere in Edinburgh is so walkable, but if I did want to get the bus one time into town, it's really affordable as well, and it's just the same rate fare the whole way on, so it's really easy.
Edinburgh has a huge amount of coffee places, from the university cafes on campus to independent and chain coffee places all about Edinburgh. Within walking distance of the uni George Square campus, there's 2 Cafe Neros, 2 Starbucks and a Costa, but there's also all the independent brewers and sort of coffee shops. My favourite's Brew Lab, which is just round the corner from the law school. It's a great place to go, have your lunch, have some coffee, and then you can study there as well if you like a bit of noise about you when you study.
There are so many good independent coffee places in Edinburgh. Some of my favourites, which are only a couple of minutes from campus, are Thomas J. Wall's and Black Medicine. They also serve some amazing baked goods.
So I would say my favourite place is actually Paradise Palms, which is a vegetarian kind of restaurant slash bar right opposite from McEwen Hall and Bristow Place. I'm not actually vegetarian, but the food is so good. Like, they have this corn on the cob with like a really nice mayonnaise and cheese, and they have an amazing macaroni cheese, and it isn't too bad prices, and in the evening it has such a buzz with like soft toys on the ceiling and like cool lights and stuff, and it's right in the centre as well.
So many, I don't even know where to start. There's a street that literally runs parallel to the university, which has got some of my favourite places to eat on, so I'll try and rattle them off. I really like Severino's Slice, which is a pizza place. They just do big slices of pizza, and one will fill you up for the whole day, and it's really funky decor inside as well, and really reasonable priced. I also like, on the same street, is Ting Tai, and they do Thai food in like cardboard cutout, takeout boxes, and there's noodles, there's wontons, there's all sorts, and I love it as well. It's like a off-brand Wagamama's, but reasonably priced.